Hello everyone, it's Ranger Russ here at the Meggs Point Nature Center for another program, one of my favorite animals. Before we get into that, let's just remind everybody, Connecticut state parks are open. You are not able to use our picnic tables or bathroom facilities, but we do have portable bathrooms and you can picnic out on the beach or on the grass. So please come and visit any one of our state parks across the state. No resident is more than 15 minutes from one of our parks. So stop by, do a little hike, get some fresh air. It's great for your health. You do still need to maintain your social distance, which for today's animal is going to be, it could be only 6 of these animals, but usually it's double that. It's going to be about 12 of these animals. Occasionally they will get to be pretty large, up to 12 inches, but most of the time they're around 6 inches. So today's animal, by the way, is the whelk. And we actually have 2 different whelks in Connecticut. Sometimes, occasionally, you can get a lightning whelk in Long Island Sound, but usually it's just the knobbed whelk or the lightning whelk. But I want to remind everybody, if you're in the park and you can't keep your social distance, make sure that you cover your face, okay? And keep washing your hands, doing all those other things. And please, 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 check on everybody that you know. Make sure they're all healthy and well. All right, are you ready to see today's animal? Now, the animal that we're going to talk about, I'm going to move the camera down because it's doing something really cool right now. This is one of our whelks that we have in our observation tank. And this one is a knobbed whelk. And I'll explain the difference between the 2 whelks, but I really want you to look at that giant suction cup. This whelk has suctioned itself to, this is an acrylic tank, it suctioned itself right to the acrylic and crawled all the way to the top. This is actually the front of its shell. A lot of people think that they go in this direction. I'm going to pick one up that I have in the tank here. This one is a channeled whelk, not a knobbed whelk. So there's 2 different whelks in our tank. But let's see if we can get them both in the picture here. The knobbed whelk. Now, if you look here, this is not, this is the channeled whelk. This is not the front of the shell. This is the direction that they go when they're crawling, okay? They're going to slide along the bottom using their suction cups. Look, there's a little, it's like a slipper snail growing on the back of this one. That's really cool. We have talked about slipper snails in other programs. If you want to see our other programs, you can go to the Virtual Learning Center at meggspointnaturecenter.org. All right, I'm going to move it back a little bit so that we can get a good view of the whelk. Okay, so the channeled whelks don't get as large as the knobbed whelks. They'll get a little bit bigger than this one here. The knobbed whelks will get to be up to 12 inches, which I can't even stretch my fingers that far. But that is pretty rare, and that's probably going to happen further south because they like warmer water, which is why we're seeing more of them in Long Island Sound than we used to. So it used to be they were in the Sound, but not really common in the Sound. And now we've got quite a few of them, and even more now as the water gets warmer. So the channeled whelk is called that because if you look here, there's a channel or a groove in its shell. The knobbed whelk, which I will show you eventually, but I really think it's cool that he stuck to the glass, has little knobs on it. If you look inside the shell, you can't really see the suction cup. It's a soft body. That's what a snail is. It's soft body with a hard shell. But in here, they've got a plate. It's kind of like our fingernail. It's a little bit soft, but it's harder than the soft body, softer than the shell. This is a trap door that they close up, and it's closing right now because you can see water. It's squeezing all the water out and closing up nice and tight. This is called the operculum. One of my favorite words to say. I don't know why I enjoy saying it so much, but it's the operculum. And it can seal itself right inside and it closes that trap door, that operculum, and you can't reach it in there. Now, what do whelks like to eat? I have a shell over here, hold on, of an animal that they do like to eat. How's that? Can you hear me now? Okay, the battery on the microphone died, so we're going without the microphone. And I don't know how much you guys were able to hear, so I'll go back to the beginning. The clam buries itself in the sand. These are not two shells that match. And the whelk likes to eat it. So the whelk will cruise along until it finds the clam buried in the sand. They will eat other bivalves, mussels and oysters, but they like the clams the best. And they'll use this front part of their shell, this is the direction that the whelk is going, to pry the clam up out of the soft sandy bottom. Then it will use its suction cup right here to attach to the clam and begin to pry open the clam shell. It will chip away, and sometimes this breaks, sometimes the clam breaks, but eventually it's going to get a little gap into that clam shell. Then it will put its proboscis, its mouth parts, which are actually really close to its foot. Gastropod means stomach, foot. And it will put it in there. You can look, it's dripping. It's still squeezing itself further in there. It will start to digest the clam inside of the clam shell. So it will put its digestive juices in there and absorb the nutrients right out of the clam shell. Okay? Now, if you want to equate that to you guys eating, this is my favorite thing. If you guys like pizza, which I love pizza, what the way the whelk eats the clam is the way you would eat a pizza if you left the pizza in the box and you opened the box and squirted your digestive juices from your mouth out all over the pizza and then sucked the pizza out of there with a straw or just drank the pizza out of the box. That's how you would eat a pizza if you ate the way the whelk eats a clam. Not very appetizing, but that's how they eat. That's how they absorb that clam right out of the clam shell. And any bivalve is going to be food for them. Now, what likes to eat them? You guys are always interested in what likes to eat them. There are things like the skates and rays that will eat them, sometimes a larger crustacean. So not the small crabs, but the bigger lobsters will be able to break that shell and eat them. And I am looking for the egg case, which I thought it was in this room, but I do not see one. So I'm going to have to grab an egg case in a second here. But actually, you guys take a look at this. I'm going to let you watch this. I'm going to run and grab the egg case, and we'll talk about the way they lay eggs. right, so I've got a piece of an egg case. This is not as large as they get. So let's move this back. So this is the piece of an egg case. Now many of you may have seen these washed up on the beach. People think that it's a spine, part of a skeleton maybe of an eel or a snake, maybe a fish spine, but these are the egg cases. Some people think it's seaweed. These are the egg cases, and this particular one is actually of a knobbed whelk. The knobbed whelks have a flat side. If you've seen the program that we did on the sandy beach, I talked a little bit about this. And you can see that on our Meggs Point Nature Center YouTube channel or on the Virtual Learning Center at meggspointnaturecenter.org. Now, I'm going to remove this one from the side so that we can look at a knobbed whelk and watch it go inside. There's the operculum, that's the armored door. This is the soft body. You can see there's a little proboscis sticking out over here through the shell. It can feel its way along with that. Okay, so the females will produce these long strings. They can have up to 100 of these little tiny pouches, and depending on the whelk, the larger whelk can have more, but this size of whelk, you're going to see about 50 eggs inside of each one of these egg cases. Those 50 eggs inside the case will turn into tiny whelks. Little tiny, they're like a grain of sand. You really need a magnifying glass to look at them. But it looks just like this. Same shape, it has a shell, it has a soft body inside, it has a little operculum, but it's the size of a grain of sand. Over the years, these will grow larger. Now, these will get to be 15 years old. Sometimes you can see them up to maybe 20. 17 is the oldest one I've ever found. You can kind of tell how old they are because they sort of have a growth ridge. Hard to tell, but I've usually 17 are the oldest ones. And it takes these guys like 5 years to mature, so 5 years before they can even make an egg case. But of those, so you're going to get maybe 5,000 baby whelks out of this. Only 5% or so are going to make it to be that 15 to 17 years old. So they do not live, not very many of them make it. Lots of things like to eat the small, little, tiny ones. Still lots of water coming out of it. So again, this is the knobbed whelk. You can see the knobs. There's no ridge. There's no flat side. This case has flat edges. So this is from a knobbed whelk. The channeled whelk, the edges come to a point, come to a sharp edge. All right, I'm going to scroll on here and see if we've got any questions. We'll put that down there. So these strings can be, 100 of these, so they can be up to 3 feet long. Let's see what we have for questions. All right, I'm not seeing any questions. So let's talk a little bit about the reason we have them in Long Island Sound and what's happening now that we have them here. Many of our lobstermen have switched over to fishing for the whelks. The knobbed whelk is not the preferred one. It has a thicker shell, so you don't get as much meat out of them for the weight of the whelk. You get more weight of muscle, more eatable material out of a channeled whelk. So they prefer the channeled whelks, but they're switching over because lobsters don't like the warm water, and these guys like the warmer water. So we're getting more of these and less lobsters, so people are switching over. I see a question. Someone's from New Mexico. Very cool. Happy to see New Mexico. And are whelks, that is a great question. Are whelks the same as conch? I was going to talk about that. They are completely different. They're actually in different families. Whelks tend to be more temperate, so you do find them down in the tropical areas, but not as many. Up here, you can't find any conch. Conch are tropical. Conch are herbivores. They're eating algae. Conch are carnivores. They're eating bivalves. So those are the two major differences. Conch, there are small conch and much larger conch. Whelks are the same way. We do have some whelks, dog whelks, that only are about an inch long. So the major difference is what they eat and where they're found. So, all right. Now, we're going to move the camera over. Looks like somebody, oh, Colorado used to be from Connecticut. That's really cool. I'm going to flip the camera because I want to show you what they do. They live on the soft, sandy bottom of Long Island Sound. And the way the fishermen catch them, they put out traps. And kind of similar to a lobster trap, except a little bit of a different shape. They're wider and flatter than a lobster trap. But what they do when we're not around is they bury themselves. So we're going to look and see the buried ones. Can you see that one? So you see there's a green crab right there. Right next to that is a buried whelk. One right here. Then there's another one. Yep, that's one there. Look like it could be a rock, right? And then another one. There's another one of our green crabs. But under the green crab is another whelk. All right? So they will bury themselves. It makes it really hard to find them. If they're not out, oh, look, this one's up. The one that was on the glass, it looks like it's getting ready to move. Oh, no, it's not as high as I thought. When they are ready to move around, ooh, hello to the United Kingdom. When they're ready to start walking around, they will actually, their body will lift them up about that high. It's really cool. It looks like they're wearing their shell as a hat, and their body is all on the ground, and they're sliding around on the substrate looking for things to eat. All right. I hope everyone is enjoying these programs. I'm not seeing any more questions about the whelk. I'm not sure what else I can tell you about them. They are a really interesting animal. The knobbed whelk, largest snail in Long Island Sound, actually from the Carolinas up to about Maine, Massachusetts, where their range is. They will be found down in Florida, but from the Carolinas up, you don't have any of the conch, so they're actually the largest snail from the Carolinas up. All right, I'm going to give you guys a chance just to watch them. I'm going to remind everyone that our programs are Tuesday through Friday at 11 and 2. This afternoon, we're going to have John Himmelman reading another one of his books. I hope that everyone's enjoying the books. And tomorrow, I will be visiting our Blue Jays. So we will be in the Blue Jay aviary. You'll get to be in there with them. Hopefully, they behave. Sometimes they will just sit and stare at me, and sometimes they'll dance and do all sorts of tricks. So we'll see what happens while I'm in there with them. And then tomorrow afternoon, I'll be visiting Fort Griswold State Park, an historic site here in the state of Connecticut. It's Revolutionary War fort that has some great history. So I'll tell you the story of Fort Griswold on Friday for our 2 o'clock program. All right, if nobody has any other questions, you can continue to add questions. If you're not watching this live, you can add questions, and we do look at them and try and answer them. You can also contact us on our website, meggspointnaturecenter.org. Please follow us and like us on Facebook. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that way everybody will get to see how much fun you're having watching our programs.
So this is Ranger Russ. I am signing off for now, and we will see you, well, this afternoon. You can see our book reading, and then tomorrow I'll be doing more programs. Thank you very much.